When I was 14, I was recruited by a friend of the family to go sailing for a month. Jack Radcliffe would perform at my mother's coffee house. That's where she first met him, but my dad knew Jack from when he had him as in science class back in middle school. But Jack needed one more hand to sail a 40-foot ketch down to New York City and back. My parents said yes, I said yes, and off we went. So for the last few weeks of June in 1980, I would head down to the shipyard in Fairhaven and learn about sailing, which for over a week consisted of me putting linseed oil on wood, coiling rope, putting up sails, taking them down, tying knots, lots and lots of knots. Eventually, we were ready, and Jack told me to go and buy some rain gear and get one of those rain hats like the guy on the frozen fish package wears, he said. The next day, he inspected my purchases: the hat, a pair of bright yellow rain pants, a bright yellow raincoat, which he held in one hand, and in his other hand he took a knife and he very eagerly hacked the hood off of the raincoat. "Why did you cut the hood off?" I asked. "I'll tell you after our first storm," was his answer. And off we went, sailing out of the New Bedford harbor like generations of men in my family had. They left to hunt whales. We left for a pleasure sail down to Newport. That day was cold and gray, and soon a fog set in, and Jack sent me to the very front of the boat, the bow, to listen and look for buoys. Each buoy had its own number and its own sound, which are marked on a map, and you can thus figure out where you are, even if you can't see anything. After a few hours of doing this hunting by sight and sound, we safely made it into Newport for the night. The next morning, we decided to set sail for Block Island. It's 27 miles in a straight line, but when you sail, you don't sail in a straight line. You have to tack back and forth to keep the wind in your sails, which is fine. Sailing is not about rushing. At first, the day was beautiful. The sun was shining, and I still remember seeing the Coast Guard tall ship, the Eagle, sailing in the opposite direction, but its sails were catching the sunlight in such a way that they appeared to be golden. And then, there's always an "and then" in stories like this. And then the sky started to darken. And soon it was difficult to tell the difference between where the sea ended and the sky began. Jack told us to go down below, put our rain gear and life vests on. And we sailed right into a squall. And our little ship was tossed, and so was my lunch. And Jack swore and yelled and swore some more, and eventually I understood that he wanted me and another crewmate to head up forward, take down the sail and tie it up with ropes, and then to hang on. It was quite rough going for a while, but eventually we made it into Block Island, and after setting the anchor and getting ready for bed, I asked Jack if he would tell me why he cut the hood off my jacket. He said, "I did that in case you fell overboard. A hood like that fills up with water and will pull you right down to the bottom. I don't want you dying on my watch." Now, I tell you this 40-year-old story because it illustrates, at least in part, where we are right now in our country, where we are right now in the world. We've been told a big storm is coming, but as far as most of us can tell, it hasn't hit yet. Although we have started to hear numbers of the sick each day in the news, and have also heard that 2 poor souls have died in our state. But for most of us, we have yet to know someone who has contracted the coronavirus. It's getting closer, and we're quickly learning what we need to do to be safe. We need to wash our hands and sneeze into our sleeves, But that sounds as useful as learning to tie knots and take down sails if you don't want to die in a ship. Right now, to be honest, most of us are just lost in a fog, listening and watching for signs that will hopefully get us into a peaceful harbor. We are living at a time of great mystery. Eventually, we will know people who are sick, and once that happens, we'll have a clearer sense of who to stay away from. But for now, we have to act like everyone is a potential carrier. And so we keep our distances. For some, that's easier than for others. But for everyone, it feels odd, because we were made for relationships. We were made for community, we are made for communion with others, and ultimately we are made for communion with that ultimate, however you want to define it. We are relational beings, and there's nothing that we can do to undo that. Times like this also reminds us that we are finitude, and we have limitations. We are so aware at this time that we are not in control. We are not sovereign, we are limited, we are finite, we are mortal, we are not in control. And as much as it bugs us to be reminded of that fact, as much as we may be paralyzed by the idea of that, we are not in control. Yet we want to be. So we go out shopping because the idols of our time, consumerism, tells us that's what we should do when we get worried and anxious. And like I said last week, no amount of toilet paper is going to keep you safe from this virus. But we act out of fear. We are acting out of the fact that we do not have control. And we are starting to see the broken systems of our nation. Our broken healthcare system, our broken political system, our broken economic system. We see bad decisions made. We see opportunities missed. And we see people plunged into chaos. This virus has shown us our fears and our anxieties. People are panicked because, well, their idols are failing them. The people and the things where we have placed our trust are failing us. But let me tell you something else about people and humans at this time of mystery. We need to have ways to express that we are alive, to show that we are alive to ourselves and to others. We need to create ways. We do create ways to express ourselves. We are creative people, not just us here on this screen, but all humans are creative. Just think. We are creative people, not just all humans, not just us, but all humans. Just think of the medical professionals out there taking care of people or preparing themselves to do so. Think of the scientists working on a vaccine. We also feel in this moment a need for meaning and beauty. We've all seen that video, I'm sure, of the Italian, of the people of Italy leaning out of their windows singing. It's beautiful. And it shows that even in this desperate time, humans need connection. They want to be able to do something that makes us feel alive. The fact that it has been beautiful sunny weather has meant that people have been filling the streets and the riverways, jogging and walking and boating and yes, even sailing. I mean, the street in front of our house looks like a Norman Rockwell painting, with people out walking their pets and kids riding bikes and people talking to neighbors with a safe distance. And it's not just us. I just got an email this week from Reverend Tibor, the minister of our partner church in Transylvania. And he told me how he and his wife have gone out hiking in the hills around Kolishvar. My friends, we're going to be at this healthy distancing, this social distancing for quite a while. Weeks, probably more likely months. And I have a question. What are you going to do with this time? I mean, sure, we could have a beard growing contest, but we could also use this time to learn a skill, learn a language, read some books you have always wanted to read, teach someone how to play the ukulele. Get in shape. Everyone's talking about gaining a lot of weight from this quarantine time, but I'm thinking it's actually a time for us to start to get into shape. We've had offers of yoga classes and dance classes to be shared here online here at church. And maybe we should also get some meditation classes going online, some prayer groups. We can start more chalice circles. And maybe, just maybe, during this downtime, we can learn to slow down, to be reminded of what is really important in our lives, the things that make life worth living. You know, something else is happening during this mysterious time, this time when everything seems in flux. It is something that is actually constant, something that can inspire us. It is a mystery of nature that nature brings forth, which is growing around us already. It's popping out of flower beds. It's appearing as buds on trees and bushes. As Thomas Wolfe wrote, "Only the earth endures. Under the pavements trembling like a pulse, under the building trembling like a cry, under the wastes of time, under the hoof of beasts, above the broken bones of cities, there will be something growing like a flower, something bursting from the earth again, forever deathless, faithful, coming into life again like April." My friends, a storm is coming, and so are the flowers. Amen. Friends, I just want to briefly remind you that you can still give to church if you go to our website, uureading.org. Right there on the front page, you can find a way to help to contribute to the life of this church and also contribute right now to the Share the Plate for the CLF's, the Church of the Larger Fellowship's prison ministry. I want to let you know that there are a number of emails going out that will tell you about other programming we have online. There's one Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1 o'clock. There's going to be story time. For myself or other members of staff will be reading stories for about 15 minutes to our young people. That's going to be on Facebook Live. So you just go to our Facebook page and find that. Here are our closing words from Helen Keller. However dark the world may seem, we have the light of faith at our command, and it is ours to do with as we will. For faith is a brave look at the soul for the paths of life. It is not dogma. It is the white fire of enthusiasm. In its higher forms, faith is like the kindler of all nobility. What we call security is mostly superstition. It does not exist anywhere in nature, nor does humanity as a whole experience it. Life is either a daring adventure or it is nothing. To keep our faces turned towards change and behave like free spirits in the presence of faith is strength undefeatable. My friends, our worship is over. Our service begins. Go in peace.